Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. This is the February 2025 SBIF District Rollout webinar. We'll get started in just a few moments. For everybody joining us today, you will receive a follow-up email with a copy of the presentation. You can also rewatch it on DPD's YouTube page. If you have any questions during the conversation today, feel free to put them in the chat box. We will have somebody answering questions in real time, and we will also do an additional Q&A session at the end. We'll get started in just a few moments. Again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kim Brisky with Summer Corps. We are the administrators for the Small Business Improvement Fund. We're happy to have you here today for the February 2025 District Rollout webinar. A copy of this webinar will be emailed to you after the presentation. Additionally, you can rewatch it on DPD's YouTube page. If you have any questions during the conversation today, feel free to put them in the chat box. They will be answered throughout the presentation, and we'll also have a standalone Q&A section as well at the end. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Nora Curry at DPD to get us started.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nora Curry. I am the SBIF Program Director for the City of Chicago Department of Planning and Development, or DPD. On behalf of the City of Chicago, I want to thank you for joining us today. The Small Business Improvement Fund, known as SBIF, provides grants on a reimbursement basis to small businesses and property owners to make permanent improvements to their property. We are thrilled to have you with us today, and we'll tell you all about the program, but we're also excited to announce our latest improvement to the program. We are launching an online application. Transitioning to this new application format improves our processing speed so we can all get down to work faster on your project and what you need to do. So LaTanya will tell you more about that as we go along with the webinar. One thing that we haven't changed is that you are going to have a lot of assistance through this process through your project manager at Summer Corps. Technical assistance is a key strength of the SBIF program. Once you submit your application, you'll be assigned to a Summer Corps project manager. That's our program administrator. The person is there to help you with your application and your project. If you have questions about your application or run into any delays with your permit, say, or have issues with your contractor, you should call that project manager immediately. At the very least, if they should know about the delays so they can help you with a possible extension. They may even be able to help with getting rid of some of those roadblocks, especially with the city, because we can get involved. In addition to the Summer Corps assistance, you have a local delegate agency. It may be the Chamber of Commerce who told you about the webinar and the program today. LaTanya will list their names later in the presentation. And like your SBIF project manager, those delegate agencies are here to help you. They can help with the SBIF application itself. They can help you find local lenders and guide you through all of the processes that you'll need to, the forms that you'll need to fill out for this application. In short, we're all here to support you during your application process and to help you and your business and your neighborhoods flourish. And with that, I'm happy to introduce LaTanya Jones, the Associate Director of SBIF for Summer Corps.
Thank you, Nora. Hello, everyone. My name is LaTanya Jones, and I am the Deputy Director of the Small Business Improvement Fund Grant Program. Thank you for joining us today, and let's get started with today's presentation. Today we will be discussing the eligibility requirements of the program and what you can expect going through the process. Here is an overview of what we will be discussing today during the presentation. We will explain the SBIF program, how you can determine if your business or property is located in a SBIF district, which districts are open and on deck, what are the program rules, how you can go about applying, what resources are available to help, provide you with information on the February rollout with an example project, cover the frequently asked questions, and conclude with any additional Q&As. Since 1999, the City of Chicago's Small Business Improvement Fund promotes economic development by providing small businesses and landlords with reimbursable grants to assist with permanent building improvements. Please note that the residential projects are not eligible through this program. SBIF grant uses tax increment financing, which is known as TIF, revenue to reimburse grantees for the pre-approved repair and rehab of their business facility or adjacent land acquisition. Summer Corps is the program administrator, contracted by the city's Department of Planning and Development. Grant parameters. The property must be located in the TIF district where the SBIF funds are available and is authorized to accepting applications. There are different types of applicants that can apply for this program, such as landlords of commercial or industrial properties, owners or operators, which consist of commercial or industrial business owners who also own the property, tenants with a written approval from the property owner. Startups are eligible to apply with a detailed business plan, and a current Chicago business license will be required. Eligible applicants can apply if the commercial or industrial landlord has less than 9 million cumulative net worth and 500,000 in liquidity assets. That will be the maximum per individual. Commercial tenants or owner-occupied applicants must have an average of 9 million or less in gross sales per year. Industrial tenants or owner-occupied with 200 or fewer full-time employees are eligible to apply. Please note that all owner-occupied properties are subject to both tenant and landlord requirements. Grant size, depending on the type of applicant you are, will determine the maximum grant assistance that you are eligible to receive. $250,000 is the maximum per industrial property. $150,000 is the maximum per commercial property occupied by a single owner or tenant. $250,000 for a commercial property is the maximum that's occupied by multiple owners and tenants, with the understanding that the maximum assistance of $75,000 can be received by individual applicants at the property. SBIF applications and SBIF grants are non-transferable between applicants and/or property. Applicants who wish to apply for SBIF funds for more than one property must submit separate applications for each property. Applicants may receive one or more grants up to their maximum program assistance. Once the maximum is reached, applicants will need to wait 3 years to reapply. Depending on your gross sales or net worth will determine the reimbursement percentage you are eligible to receive. For commercial businesses, if you are between 0 to 3 million, you are eligible to receive 90% reimbursement. If you fall between 3 and 6 million, you will be eligible to receive 60% reimbursement. And if you fall between 6 and 9 million, you will be eligible to receive 30% reimbursement. And for all industrial projects, the maximum reimbursement can be reached at 50%. So to better help you understand the calculations for this program, here is a SBIF calculation example. Grace submits an application for a SBIF grant in an open district with a total eligible project cost of $100,000. She is proposing to make permanent building improvements to her existing retail shop, for which she is the tenant. Grace has been in business for 5 years, and over the last 3 years, her gross sales averaged at 1.5 million. The breakdown of the eligible cost is as follows. The total eligible project cost is at $100,000. Since she is a commercial tenant applicant and her gross sales is under 3 million, she is eligible to receive 90% reimbursement. That leaves the city responsibility at 90%, which totals the 90,000, and the applicant's responsibility is 10%, which is 10,000. The SBIF program is a reimbursement grant, so project participants should be prepared with financing to support the cost of the permanent improvements. We encourage applicants to contact their business lender or reach out to one of the lenders listed on Summer Corps' website in a timely manner. Grantees may choose to complete their project in phases rather than requiring 100% of the upfront cost of the project. To participate, grantees must receive an approval for the full scope of work and the phase work schedule. Construction timing will be completed based on necessity and contractor's recommendation. Receiving phase disbursement will be based on the progress or completion of eligible construction work. This example helps break down the process if you decide to break your project into phases. If the full scope of work includes roof tear off, HVAC work, and facade renovations. Total cost of the project is $180,000 with the grant approval of $150,000. Once the applicant completes the roofing work and provides the proper paperwork, the applicant can get reimbursed for that work and use those funds to address the next work item, which is the HVAC work, and then repeats this process to be reimbursed for the HVAC work and use those funds to address the facade improvements. What is the program timeline? In the first phase, you will be given 20 days to provide the requested information needed to complete your application to determine eligibility. Once you are deemed eligible, you are moved into stage 2, where you would have 120 days to provide us with the detailed plans, bids, specs of your project, and cure any city debt. If you are aware of any city debt, please ensure to take care of it as soon as you can. Please note that stage 1 and 2 must be completed before final approval and final review and project approval by DPD. Once approved, applicants will receive their conditional commitment letter and are moved into stage 3. Receiving the approval letter will be your signal to start construction. You will be given up to 10 months to complete your project. Proof of issued permit or submitted application must be submitted within 120 days following the date of the commitment letter. And this is concurrent with the 10-month construction phase. You will also need to provide proof of sufficient funds to complete your project within 120 days following the date of the commitment letter. The applicant must prove they have sufficient equity to complete the project by providing 50% of the funds needed to cover the total project costs. Once the project is completed, you have to provide the requested payment documents, and then you will be moved into stage 4. Summer Corps will review the submitted documents, and if all paperwork is sufficient, a final site visit will be conducted, and your reimbursement request will be submitted to the city for processing, which takes 4 to 6 weeks before you receive your check. Please understand that unless DPD has granted an extension of time, applicants who do not complete each stage within the required phase time limit will be disqualified and removed from the program. Is my business or property located in a SBIF district? In order to determine your business or property located in a SBIF district, please visit our website at summercorps.com/SBIF for assistance. Step 1 would be to click the link for SBIF Locator tool, which takes you to the website where you will enter in your property address at the top of the page. Step 2 would be to enter your address, and it will let you know if your property is eligible, provide you with the name of the SBIF district of where your property is located, and when that district is scheduled to open for new applications. It would also provide you with a list of local delegate agencies for your area for them to assist you. Which SBIF districts are open and on deck? Eligible SBIF districts in Chicago span across neighborhoods on the north, south, and west sides. Each month marks a new 30-day period in which SBIF districts with available funds open for applications. Notice of district openings are provided to the relevant aldermen, posted on the DPD and Summer Corps websites, and included in the monthly SBIFgram. Please visit our website at summercorps.com/SBIF to obtain the list of upcoming districts open. This information will be available under the TIF rollout calendar. Which business and organization types are ineligible to apply? Please note that this list is not comprehensive, but will give you an idea of the similar use that are not eligible under this program. This will consist of chain and franchises, branch banks, employment agencies, currency exchanges, payday loans or title secured loan stores, pawn shops, liquor stores, hotels and motels, nightclubs, adult uses, places of worship, junkyards, cigar and smoke shops, not-for-profit social clubs, organizations that have a national affiliation or similar uses. If it is unclear about your business type, please feel free to reach out to us. What type of improvements are eligible for SBIF funding? This would include roofing and facade improvements, components of the signage and awnings, which are permanently affixed to the building, ADA compliance improvements such as railings and or ramps, HVAC and other mechanical systems, plumbing and electrical work, certain project-related architectural and construction management fees as it relates to the project, certain environmental remediation measures, permanent interior renovations, including fixtures, purchase of adjacent land parcels for the purpose of expanding or parking. And again, this is not a comprehensive list, but it will give you an idea of what improvements can be covered. But if you are not sure about the work items, that you're looking to do for your project, you can definitely feel free to reach out to us. What improvement costs are ineligible for SBIF funding? This would include new construction, standalone minor repairs or cosmetic improvements, equipment-related expenses such as kitchen appliances, computers, or office furniture, planters surrounding or affixed to the building, outdoor dining or drinking areas, fencing, pergolas, privacy screens, and similar structures, parking lot construction or repairs, landscaping, or interior work for residential units. What are the SBIF design requirements? Applicants for commercial properties seeking grants of 25,000 or more shall be required to make at least one exterior improvement using at least 10% of the maximum amount of their approved grant amount. To receive project approval for from DPD, improvements must conform to DPD's design guidelines. Applicants are strongly advised to consult with Summer Corps and design professionals on design requirements and guidelines before drawing up plans for work. There are some exterior design guidelines that DPD will review during the approval phase, which includes preserving or recreating the original design and window opening when possible, incorporating permanent signage to clearly identify the business, adequate lighting and especially near entrances for welcoming customers, avoid window clutter. Windows should let in natural light and attract pass buyers to the business. For more information, please refer to BACP guidelines on premises on window signs. And then also other forms of security are preferred, but if you require any other forms of security, if necessary, only interior mounted security shutters that are integrated into the storefront design can be reimbursed.
One moment, so sorry. My apologies.
Worries. We're on the application, the how do I apply? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Go back one more. Apology. Okay, sorry about that. Applicant compliance. What measures are in place to ensure applicant compliance with program rules? Checks will be performed on all applicants during the approval stage to ensure they are complying with child support laws and not indebted to the city. Any scofflaw debt must be cured to participate in the SBIF program. Applicants can cure the debt via a city payment plan. Applicants using a payment plan must be in compliance in order to receive any spent reimbursement funds. All applicants must be current on property taxes prior to approval or any reimbursement for completed work. Each applicant must sign an economic disclosure affidavit. Grantees must sign an affidavit certain that they will not relocate out of the TIF district or sell the business within a 3-year period following the disbursement of funds. And to be reimbursed, landlord applicants must have an executed lease with a qualified tenant, and the tenant must be occupying and actively operating their business or not-for-profit out of the lease space. How do I apply? As Nora mentioned, there are 2 options to apply for the SBIF program. You can apply using the new online application that can be found on DPD's website via Submittable. If you have any questions about the new application platform, you can contact Gabadale Miranda at cityofchicago.org, or you can submit an application by completing the PDF form that can be found on Summer Corps' website. And you'll just need to download and complete the PDF fillable application within the designated open period. Please allow 2 business days for Summer Corps to confirm receipt of your application via email response. And if you do not receive an email confirmation within this time, please send an email to spiff@summercorps.com or call at 312-360-3300. Applicants are responsible for making sure submissions are received within the open acceptance period. Applications received after 5 p.m. on the last day of the acceptance period, if they're received after the acceptance period, they will not be eligible for consideration. What resources are available to help? You can visit our website at summercorps.com/spiff to access resources that would help you through the SPIF program. We have a list of resources that include lenders, contractors, technical assistance providers, and small business resources. And these tools can be used to help you through the process. You can also connect with your delegate agency for assistance in filling out your application. Please get to know your local delegate agencies. These organizations are assigned to assist small business owners in the SPIF districts opening this month. You may be familiar with these organizations. If not, please reach out to them and introduce yourself and let them know your plans with the SPIF program, and they will assist you accordingly. And as a reminder, this presentation will be emailed to those who are attending today. For the February SPIF districts, we started to accept applications until March 2nd at 5 p.m. The districts that are open for new applications are 53rd Street, 105th and Van Sands, Devon and Sheridan, Michigan and Cermak, and Wilson Yard. Here is a sample SPIF project that was completed in the Wilson Yard TIF district. Inn on Thai, located at 4641 North Broadway, They utilize the SBIF program to complete some exterior and interior renovations for their business space. Their project summary included installing new vestibule with glass door, electrical work with new light fixtures, emergency lighting, outlets, smoke and carbon monoxide detectors, plumbing work including new drains and vents for all sinks, new toilets, floor drains, gas lines, hot water heater, exhaust hood, building out of restrooms, HVAC work with associated ductwork, exhaust fans, vents, flooring, and painting. What additional documents should I have on hand to submit along with my SBIF application? Here's a list of what will be requested from you in order to complete your application. Please note that these documents are not required to submit with your initial application form. We want to give you an idea of the general required documents we will request from you depending on the type of applicant you are. This would include business tax returns, proof of ownership, economic disclosure statement, personal financial statement, affidavit of child support, principal profile form, jobs created and retained survey. For startups, this would include a detailed business plan that would list their projected income and expenses, executed leasing agreement, affidavit and certification of property owner, affidavit of full-time equivalent employees, and copies of tenant leases. Are startups or new businesses eligible? Yes, most startups can apply. Startup applicants will need to supply a detailed business plan and projections of the business's income and expenses within the first 36 months of operation as part of their application materials. The City of Chicago reserves the right to impose additional conditions for funding in connection with the startup business applications. If you have only been in business for 1 or 2 years, Summer Corps will require tax returns and a projection of gross sales to equal 3 years of data. Am I eligible if I live outside of Chicago? The important consideration is where you have your business property. To participate in SBIF, your property must be located in the City of Chicago, as funding sources come from City of Chicago property taxes. If your business is in another area, please call your local city planning, economic development, or community development department to see what other programs may be available to assist small businesses. What if my building has both business and residential space? The program is primarily for business use, but there are some mixed use exceptions. For these buildings, many envelope projects such as roofing, facade improvements, and tuck pointing can be eligible. Can SBIF be used with other Chicago grant programs? No. SBIF cannot be used at the same time as a neighborhood opportunity fund or Chicago Recovery Plan grant on the same property covering the same work. However, you may apply for multiple grants at the same time and select the best fit for your project, provided that you stay within the grant timeline requirements. Will there be enough SBIF funds for all applicants? Each TIF district that has the SBIF program authorized in it has limited funds reserved for the program. If demand for SBIF funds is greater than the amount available, then a lottery will be conducted to determine the order in which each grant application may be accommodated. If any surplus funds become available, they will be allotted to waitlisted applications. Is there SBIF funding available in my district? Every SBIF area has its own budget that the city refills if a TIF has funds available, and if there is a demonstrated need for more grant money. We also maintain an interested party list for funds, which you can also send an email to spiff@summercore.com to join. When more funding becomes available or the city accolades more funds, we will be able to let you know. The interested party list helps the city of Chicago gauge demand for additional funding. What if I'm in a TIF and it is not a SBIF? Tax increment financing is the mechanism that funds the Small Business Improvement Fund. If you are in a TIF district and it does not have a SBIF, please contact your alderman. Here is the contact information for our SBIF department and the program director of the Department of Planning and Development, Nora Curry. This will conclude our SBIF presentation, and I would definitely like to thank everyone for attending. And everyone who's attending this webinar would also receive a copy of the presentation. Now we can proceed with the Q&A session.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Latanya. And just a reminder for everyone here, if you do have any questions here, feel free to add them to the Q&A box and we can answer them. Latanya, I think the first question that I usually hear is sort of, what are sort of the most likely pitfalls? Like, what can we do? What are the things that new SBIF applicants should avoid? Or what are some best tips to make sure they're successful with their project?
One thing that really stands out right now, I think, would be communication is important. It's important to always communicate with your project manager if there's any delays or if you have any questions. It's always best to keep your project manager in the loop so that we know how to assist you if an extension is needed. Another thing is financing. Finding the appropriate financing for your project. If you're not able to find one, we do have a list on our website. Another one is finding contractors and obtaining the necessary estimates. And then I don't know if I mentioned this the first time, but meeting the deadlines are important.
That's really important. Well, and actually, speaking of deadlines, there's something important about 4 of the districts that are rolling out this period. Anybody who wants to be applying for 105th and Vincennes, 53rd Street, Michigan Cermak, and Wilson Yard, all of those TIFs are set to expire December 31st of 2025. Latanya, can you give a little bit more information as to why that date's important and what that means for applicants from those districts?
So what that means for applicants in those districts just means that, so the time frame that we originally listed, like the general timeline of how each phase works, each stage works, will slightly be different for you just to make sure that you're able to, deem you as eligible within a certain amount of time and get your estimates so that we can get you approved and have most of your time dedicated to construction.
Right.
So, and another thing I want to mention that ultimately you will have the deadline of having everything completed. Once approved, you would have a final deadline of November 15th to have everything completed so that we can submit it for processing for your reimbursement before the district expires.
Right. If the district expires, the TIF is liquidated and SBIF program will cease to exist there. If anything changes with any TIF districts, we will certainly let you know. But at this point, the 4 TIFs that we have opening this district period that are scheduled to expire at the end of the year are 105th and Vincennes, 53rd Street, Michigan Cermak, and Wilson Yard. Next question, just sort of, you've mentioned, I think, the term a couple times, site control. Can you talk a little bit more about site control, what it means and why it's important to this project?
Yes, so the term site control just refers to you providing documentation that you have the right to occupy this space, whether it's for your business or you purchasing a property. You will have to be able to provide the documentation, whether it's an executed lease or proof of ownership of the property within that 20-day deadline period, just so that we're able to deem you as eligible and move you over to the next phase. But if you do not have site control, we will not be able to move forward with your application without it.
Great. So someone here asked about land acquisition to be able to build a new facility, a ground up construction. I just wanted to know, is that something that SBIF funds can be used for?
So the way it works through SBIF, you have to currently own the property that is adjacent to the land that you're looking to purchase for the purpose of expansion or parking. So if it's just to submit an application for a land and you don't have ownership of the adjacent property next to it, you would not be eligible to submit an application under those circumstances.
So if it's a new ground up facility, not attached to something else, that's not going to be SBIF. However, I would certainly take a look at the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund. They do allow for acquisition and ground up construction. For your reference, that grant program is open right now, currently taking applications. If you have questions about that, you are welcome to send an email at SBIF@SummerCore, or actually, I guess, yeah, you can send it to SBIF and we can do it there too. You can also go to www.chicago.gov/NOF to learn more about that. So we had somebody who received a recovery grant and they wrapped up the project, but they want to apply for SBIF for work that wasn't covered under that recovery grant. Will they be able to apply for that? And so I think, a lot of it's going to probably come down to the timing of when they get reimbursed for the first project. Do you want to kind of talk through that?
Sure. So if you've completed your project through another city grant program and you're looking to apply for SBIF, there's a few things that we have to take in consideration before we move forward. So we would have to look into seeing how much you received through that grant. And if it exceeds the maximum amount that you're eligible to receive through SBIF, you would have to wait 3 years before applying for SBIF funding.
So for example, if they are a standalone commercial property and they received 150,000 through a city recovery grant, the maximum you can receive for a standalone commercial is 150. So in that case, they would not be eligible to receive any more SBIF funds until the 3 years have passed.
Correct.
But if they'd only received, let's say, 75,000 and it was eligible for a maximum of 150, then yes, they could apply at that time.
Yes, and then the thing is, if there is some funds available that we can award to your project, it will just be the difference of what you received from the city grant program.
Right. I have a very specific question about a current SBIF program. So I'm going to encourage them to email their specific project manager. Sorry about that. Let's see. A question. Are private pre-K kindergartens available for SBIF funding? Private schools?
Private schools would not be eligible under SBIF.
The difference, a lot of people talk about the difference between SBIF and NOF. We do have for SBIF, it can be like daycare and things like that for like early childhood things that they care, things like that, those would be eligible though.
Yes, those would be eligible business types, yes.
Okay. One that I'm not sure, but maybe we might need to do a little more research on is somebody asked if a healthcare outpatient organization, or like a clinic, would that be something that's eligible? I think it might depend a little bit on the maybe franchise chain question and licensing, perhaps.
Yes, we probably have to make sure that there's no like national affiliation, but that would require us to look further into it once we, receive an application. We just won't be able to know just by, discussing it during the webinar, but we would have to look at your application.
But in general, healthcare clinics, they are eligible.
Yes.
Yes. I'm just looking to see if there's any other project. So I just had somebody once was asking again about residential. Just to be clear, residential standalone projects, those are not eligible for SBIF. Mixed use, only if you, let's say we were talking about the envelope projects, meaning could you do the roof, you could do the windows, but LaTanya, right, you couldn't do any of the work inside the actual residential unit in the property.
Correct.
Yeah. Somebody asked if the TIF district is based on zip codes. I don't know, Nora, or maybe if you want to, do you know how the TIFs were actually created in the beginning? Do you have a good answer for that question?
I don't know if it's a good answer, but it's not based on zip codes. No, there's the tax increment financing districts are guided by state law. And there are requirements that we must meet to put property into a TIF district. I believe there are 5 different criteria and they have to meet 3 of them or something like that. And so it's things like the condition of the property, the vacancy rates, the investment. I am not an expert on this at all, but it is not zip codes. It has to do with the actual property. And so the sometimes you'll see a TIF and it will actually kind of take a dip and take a property out because there was a recent investment in that property and it can't be included in the TIF district. So I think there's information on our website if you want to see what TIF districts are about.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I think, unless Nora, did you have anything else that you wanted to add since you're on screen?
I don't think so. I think the question about the suboxone, I think that's a treatment clinic. This is again the question about the health clinic. I don't think there's any particular reason that a treatment clinic would be any different than any other kind of health clinic. I think our question is really more about whether it's a franchise or a chain than it is about the kind of services being provided in the building. I don't see anything in the ordinance that keeps us from assisting with that. The things that are excluded are usually things like sales of liquor, sales of tobacco, nicotine. It doesn't sound like that's what is going on at that location, so I don't think that would be an issue, but until we
I'd say apply then, and we'll take a deeper dive and see from there. Okay. And again, we had someone just said, how do I apply? And I'm just gonna quick kick back over a couple of slides to how do you apply? Again, there's two ways to do it. We're rolling out the new online application. So if you go to the DPD's website, that's where you can link directly to the new submittable application. It's totally online. If you're we're still keeping the original application for now as we sort of phase it out. You can do that on the Summer Corps website. But regardless of which method you choose, you do need to submit it by 5 p.m. on March 2nd, or it will not be considered. Awesome. All right. Thank you everybody for joining. And I'm sorry for the technical difficulties either. My Zoom sort of just like, it had a little spaz. So I apologize for that. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.